Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby. I'm Joe, and I'm so happy you're here. This is the place where book lovers, authors, and industry insiders come together to talk about the stories we love and the impact they have. Before we dive in, don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to the Libby app YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. If you love what we're doing, leave a review or drop a comment down below. It helps more book lovers find us. Today's episode is all about beach reads. I'm sure this is a term you've heard kicking around in the book space in the last few years, but I want to know, what exactly is a beach read? My opinion, my take on it, it's mood reading. It's a vibe. It's a book you're taking on vacation. It's as simple as that. And my guests today definitely outline that they agree with that. I read through Elsie Moser's 2020 article with Book Riot, What Makes a Book a Beach Read, and it's linked in the show notes. But Elsie says overall that the term beach read began as a marketing tool for publishers. Looking at research from The Guardian, the first uses of the term beach read were in the summer of 1990. Now, over 30 years later, almost every magazine and website is publishing some sort of summer book list. In publishing, the term was used to refer to the blockbuster books that were being published in the summer. So it used to just be those most anticipated reads were beach reads. Today, the year's most anticipated reads often come out in late spring, and over time, that term beach read began to describe a certain type of book, something that had mass appeal and isn't particularly intellectually stimulating. It seems like in Elsie's article that a lot of times this has become a way to demean or discredit in some circles, especially when they are taking a lot of these beach reads as women's fiction, romance, domestic psychological thrillers. This is quoting Elsie here, or contemporary novels featuring female characters. The term is dripping with sexist assumptions about what women read and the books women authors write. It's a logical leap in the society that books by women about women are more likely to be considered light reading. So she continues to say that discounting beach reads and discounting all of the books that she has seen in kind of her work around this really get lumped into that takes away the power of what a beach read is. And so kind of looking at how I would define a beach read as a whole, like I said, mood reading, vibe reading, a book for vacation, these books are escapes from reality, easy to read, captivating, and accessible to many readers. And I think that's such an important thing to think about, is how much of an escape from reality and how accessible, and it's delicious. You don't want to put it down, that a beach read tends to be. Another quote from Elsie, many readers easily identify a beach read. They know it when they see it. So lots to think about. And like I said, the full article is linked in the show notes, so you can kind of see where I quoted Elsie and anything that I might have summarized. But it's a fascinating read and a really interesting look at this trend in publishing over the years. So with that said, looking at today, so many of these criteria, we've got the deliciousness, compulsive readability, carefree joy, summer settings, romance, escapism, thrills, sometimes low stakes, sometimes heart-wrenching stories. But to all of that, what does that mean for my guests today? My guests today are an amazing group of authors. They have so many different styles and voices between them. But joining me today to talk about their writing and how they all fall into this wide array that is beach read, I have Clémence Michallon. Clémence is an author and journalist. Her debut thriller, The Quiet Tenant, was published in June 2023 and is an international bestseller. Blumhouse TV has acquired the adaptation rights. Her next thriller, Our Last Resort, came out July 8th, 2025. She was a staff writer at The Independent for 5 years and is now a freelance journalist. Her work has appeared in the New York Times Book Review, Time Magazine, Cosmopolitan UK, and more. Her essays and features have covered the arts, true crime, celebrity culture, and literature. Clémence graduated from Sciences Po in Paris. She studied journalism at City University of London and received a master's in journalism from Columbia University. Born and raised near Paris, Clémence moved to New York City in 2014 and is a dual citizen of France and the United States. She can be found on Instagram at Clémence Michallon. Jonathan Parks-Ramage is a Los Angeles-based novelist, playwright, screenwriter, and journalist. His critically acclaimed debut novel, Yes, Daddy, from HarperCollins, was named one of the best queer books of 2021 by Entertainment Weekly, NBC News, The Advocate, Lambda Literary, Bustle, Goodreads, and more. Yes, Daddy was also optioned for television by Amazon Studios. His second novel, It's Not the End of the World, from Bloomsbury, was released on June 3rd. He is the co-creator of The Big Gay Jamboree, an off-Broadway musical nominated for 5 Lucille Lortel Awards, including Best Musical. It's also nominated for 3 Outer Critics Circle Awards, including Best Off-Broadway Musical, and 4 Drama Desk Awards, including Outstanding Book of a Musical. The critically acclaimed show has been hailed as deliciously hilarious, a cult classic, a golden age fantasia on steroids, a love letter to musical comedy, undeniably show-stopping, profoundly gloriously stupid, delightfully dirty, and laugh out loud funny. This show is produced by Lucky Chap, Margot Robbie's production company, and multiple Tony-winning Broadway producers, Sue Wagner and John Johnson. His writing has been widely published in such outlets as Vice, Slate, Out Magazine, W Magazine, Electric Literature, Atlas Obscura, Literary Hub, and Elle. He is also an alumnus of the 2018 and 2019 Breadloaf Writers Conferences. Jonathan has sold feature film and television projects to Amazon Studios, Paramount Pictures, ABC, and Pop TV. He is also an A-list ghostwriter, having anonymously collaborated on major nonfiction books from some of our culture's most dynamic public figures. You can find him on Instagram at JPRampage. Making her return to the show, Megan Miranda is the New York Times bestselling author of All the Missing Girls, The Perfect Stranger, The Last House Guest, a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, The Girl from Widow Hills, Such a Quiet Place, The Last to Vanish, The Only Survivors, and Daughter of Mine. She has also written several books for young adults. She grew up in New Jersey, graduated from MIT, and lives in North Carolina with her husband and 2 children. Follow at Megan L. Miranda on Instagram, author Megan Miranda on Facebook, or visit meganmiranda.com. Her next book, You Belong Here, published July 29th, 2025 from Simon & Schuster, Mary Sue Rucci Books. And Sara Hamdan is here today to talk about her debut novel, What Will People Think, released May 2025, and it's the biggest book deal to come out of the Middle East and North Africa region for a contemporary female author. Before that, Sara was a main contributor to the International New York Times on business, education, and culture for 6 years. She worked with Google as an editor-in-chief of Think with Google MENA for 6 years, and then served as managing editor at Protocol Labs, an American tech venture capital firm focused on the next iteration of the internet. Sara's held roles as deputy editor of Viva Magazine, the largest selling women's monthly in the GCC, and editor of Dubai Magazine, office title of Dubai Department of Tourism, based in Motivate Publishing. She's an Arab American who grew up in Greece and now lives in Dubai. You can find Sara on Instagram at by Sara Hamdan. With that, let's turn the page and dive on in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Exciting.
I'm so excited to have you all here. As you heard in the intro, listeners, I have an amazing array of very talented individuals here today to talk about their books, their experience overall, but, most on theme, the genre of beach read. I attempted to define it in the intro, but I want to ask this group, what does a beach read mean to you? Because all of you write very differently, and yet here we are together.
I think for me, the idea of a beach read is no matter what your taste is, it's the type of book you want to pick up and devour within a few sittings that you can spend, hours at a beach or wherever you're on vacation, just diving into that world.
Love it. And Megan, what do you, just so everyone's here right at the top, could you do a quick, what do you write?
Yes. So I'm Megan Miranda, and I write suspense and thrillers. My new book, You Belong Here, is out this summer.
Love it. Jonathan, I interrupted you from starting. What were you thinking?
I'm thinking of when I'm going to the beach, it's often a gay beach. I'm thinking of specifically the boy beach in Provincetown. And so I do feel like there is also a social element. Like I want the book I'm reading to seem chic to other people. Is that so shallow? But also if it's deeply chic to me, it will be chic to other people. Like, I guess I'm not just like, oh, this is the type of book I read on the beach. I'm just like, whatever I'm into, but also it's usually gay. And also it can be cute a conversation starter with a
I
new
love
book.
that. A good conversation starter, something to draw people in. And what would you say you write specifically?
I am kind of like I love a genre mashup.
Yes.
I don't have an allegiance to any one genre. And I mean, if you read my new book, I would say there are maybe multiple genres mashed up into one. So I like to, but I will say my books are always very propulsive, probably fall under many people's category of thriller, I guess. The new one also has elements of horror. So yeah, I love to play with genre. I love to subvert genre. And I
That's
love
great.
the beach.
Right. Who doesn't love to read on the beach?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Clémence Michallon. I write crime novels, thrillers. My next one, Our Last Resort, was artfully displayed on this windowsill, is coming out July 8th. For me, a beach read or a summer read, much like anybody can be a beach body if you're on a beach, I think any book can be a beach read if you bring it to the beach. To me, it has to do with atmosphere. My summer reading is very often just absorbing whatever captivates me. And sometimes there's going to be like a sultriness to it and maybe a bit of weirdness because I find summer a really interesting season. It's very liberating. Our routines can kind of go out the window and we can reveal other sides of ourselves and explore them as well. I've never returned in the fall the same person I was when I left for the summer, you know? And so I think that fiction that lends itself to that kind of atmosphere is really what I go for in the summer. And obviously in the crime area, there's a lot to play with there because when people start revealing parts of themselves that they hadn't previously displayed, then maybe the consequences can be pretty intense.
I love that. I also love I never return the same person in the fall that I was in the summer. Oh, how good is that? Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say I loved what she said about any book can be a beach read, really. It's like the beach buddies. For me, I live in Dubai, so it's beach season all year round. So I mainly read at the beach. And that means for me, when I do finally make it there, between full-time jobs and writing novels and I have kids, life is really demanding. So when I go to the beach, it's like that quiet time and I can focus. So I'm looking for a book that can just really draw me in. I can't wait to come back to it. Something immersive. I'm drawn towards, I think it's kind of like moods. So sometimes I want that crime thriller where it's a page turner and you want to figure out who did what to who. And sometimes you want something really light and funny. So I've read everything from like an Emily Henry funny story type of read to The Silent Patient. All of these are beach reads for me. I love a good Philippa Gregory, some historical fiction. It's just everything around you quiets down and you get to focus on a great story. And for me, I'm not really into any specific genre. I'll read a cereal box if that's the only thing available to me.
I think that's perfect. And honestly, that's the best answer I could find was that it all comes down to vibes. What is the mood? What is the vibe? What are you aiming for with that day? Whether it's like you have to watch the kids at the beach and you need something you can pick up and put down 100 times, or something that you can fully sink into and shoo away whoever might be bothering you.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say in the case of my novel. So I've written a debut novel. It's coming out. It just came out May 20th. So I'm a newbie. I've been a published author for 2 days.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's
Welcome
very
to the
exciting.
club.
Yeah, really.
Great to be here. Great to have a seat at the table. But my novel has taken me 10 years to write. So this is just a really great moment for me to be able to celebrate it. It's coming of age. It's about an Arab American stand-up comedian in New York City who hides her stand-up comedy from her family. She has a crush on her boss. So it's got that levity that I tend to look for in a beach read, but then there's this really strong emotional hook because she discovers her grandmother's diary. It dates back to Palestine in the 1940s. So there's this coming of age thread throughout for both of them. And it's all about love.
Oh, see, and that's a beach read too. Like it's all beach read, and you can find that joy everywhere. Now, for all of you, because we've now said like, oh, we're looking for the mood, we're looking for the vibe, what are the characteristics you like to focus on when you're writing? I know we've heard there's the like, I do this, I mishmash, I have my first book that's just 2 days old at the time of recording. Like, what do you look for? What do you always try to work in, or what's something you dream of working into the next book?
Well, kind of speaking of settings, I mean, that for me is a huge one. I love reading different settings too. I feel like it really transports you, especially when you're sitting on a beach. And for me, when I write thrillers, I love this idea that like it's the most beautiful place in the world. It's like exactly the vibe you're going for. But then when something goes terribly wrong, everything that was beautiful can also be like terrifying, which I mean, do I really want to think about that when I'm on the beach? But when I'm safe on the beach, yes, I do. But I love playing with setting. And I feel like every place that I visit kind of inspires me in a different way. And I think every character can see all these different angles. So for me, when I'm reading and when I'm writing, if I can like connect to the setting and see it from those different perspectives, I feel like really grounded, like your feet in the sand. And then I feel like the story just feels like it can grow organically from there.
I really love that, and I can't agree with you more. I was a travel journalist for a big chunk of my, the day job. So setting is really important to me, and I think that you can really evoke emotion through it. So when you're describing a place, it's not just to make it sound pretty or to let a reader feel where the character is, but it's also about their emotional state of mind. And for me, writing about New York was fun, but also challenging because you see it in so many books and it's in every TV show and movie. So the challenge for me was how do I make that unique and fresh? And in my case, it was just through the eyes of this Arab American stand-up comedian because she's got her little scene. But I completely agree with you about setting. And for me, I would just add on that it's got to have something deeply emotionally resonant for people to be able to connect. So that's where I always joke that writing for me is cheaper than therapy. So I just, you got to dig deep and figure out those parts of you that hurt. And there's a likelihood that someone else feels the same way. And I think that's what I look for when I read as well.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I would say the number one most important, part of any novel is if there are hot characters. And then I would say the second most is, does it have that emotional resonance you're talking about? I mean, I think for me, my boyfriend is always like, you're so like he always talks about like, oh John, like you're so like interpersonally like light and like lovely and funny. And then I read your books and it's like, what demon possessed you to write this super dark, crazy thing? And I think, to your point, I think novels for me are a place to work out kind of some of the most intensely personal things that I'm working through in my own mind and my own life. I mean, my new book, It's Not the End of the World, which will be out June 3rd. Um, it takes place in 2044, and it follows a wealthy gay couple who refuse to cancel their baby shower even as a potentially apocalyptic event sweeps through Los Angeles. And I
Oh,
think
wow.
projecting myself, my social milieu into the future was a way of, I think for me, wrestling with all my anxieties about the present and what's happening in the world and my degree of responsibility or lack thereof for the various kind of systems of oppression that are working through our world. I mean, it takes place in the near future, but it's not like there's been some crazy like world altering event. It's actually just a very grounded projection of where we might be based on where we are in terms of climate change, authoritarianism. So I think for me, to your point, Sarah, that it is a way for me to wrestle with what I'm wrestling with up here. So I can be a light and bubbly person and host dinner parties and not just vomit my trauma all over everyone 24/7. Put it into the novel and then you can all buy it.
Vomited to the general public
Yes,
and
exactly.
and
Exactly.
monetize it.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I think that's also what makes readers connect to stories. There's all these twists in thrillers, but at the end of the day, it's how a book makes you feel. That is the thing you remember.
Yes, I can very rarely remember key details of a book, but when I recommend it, it's because I go like, "Oh, this one, I kept thinking about it. Can't remember a single thing that happened, but you should read it." Like that's exactly it.
I think that really resonates with me because I think so. Setting was what my entry point into this book. It's set at a luxury resort in Utah. At least one timeline is. It's dual timelines. The other timeline is set in a cult in upstate New York, where I am currently in upstate New York, not at a cult.
Thank you for clarifying. Oh my gosh. Like, I will send help. We'll pause and send help.
It's on a
Out of
rescue
here.
mission.
So what got me into this book was the setting, this beautiful hotel, the desert, Utah, which is a state that just fascinates me. But what gets me home for me as a writer is the characters and the voice. I spend a lot of time with my characters in my head. Sometimes I'll see something and I'll be like, they would think that's hilarious, if they were real. And so that's sort of what I follow. It does help if at least one of the characters is hot. I really do. I totally.
See, I'm not wrong.
Because a hot character just brings an electricity to the page that like nothing can do it the same way. And then going into the voice for me, to your point that you remember how a book makes you feel. To me, the voice does a lot of that work for me as a reader. Which for me, I always want to try for this sort of like anguished, slightly frenzied quality, like something you would whisper in someone's ear and you don't really want to say it, but you have to. That's always kind of the tone I try to end up with.
I love that.
And now, Clémence, you are going from such a different setting from book one
Yeah.
to book two. I mean, you went from very claustrophobic to dual timeline. How'd you navigate that? That's a big change for you.
That is such a good question. So my debut thriller, The Quiet Tenant, came out in 2023, and it's the story of a serial killer who has a captive victim, and it's really set in like there's a garden shed, a house, and a restaurant, and that's really the whole story takes place in a village, which is also the town where I am right now. So I really do use this area a lot. Thank you, Hudson Valley. And you are totally right to point out there's a contrast between the two. And I am learning about myself that I am someone who comes up with the next idea in reaction to the last thing I wrote. So The Quiet Tenant was set in sort of these very simple settings and sort of very claustrophobic. And it's also set during the winter in upstate New York. So it's always cold. Everything's always frozen. And it's dark really early, So there's a lot, it's at night a lot. And I was like, you know what? I really want to do something different. I want it to be hot, beautiful, summery. I want the sun to beat down on our shoulders. I want beads of sweat on everyone's foreheads. Like I just wanted something different. And I thought, well, The Quiet Tenant was multiple points of view. Let me try dual timelines with this one, which I think was a very cute thing to think. Like, I was like, let me just try. And it's really hard, as it turns out. Like, who would have thought? Dual timelines. One of the timelines is set in the character's childhood, and then the other timeline is literally 4 days in their adult life. So you have to write the adults that would come out of these children, basically. And also the childhood timeline obviously spans years. So it was such a fun challenge, but it also tried my sanity a little bit.
I can't even imagine. How would you all say that you react to coming up with or challenging the way that you've written in the past? Like, Sarah, I definitely want to hear from you. Like, after writing your first book, do you want to write a second? What would you see yourself challenging yourself with next? And then, Jonathan, this is your second book. And Megan, I've read a list of titles out at the start of this episode. How do you all react to kind of this trying out new ideas, testing the waters, trying new styles? What does that look like to all of you?
To me, I am constantly, I'm not, some people are good at like writing the same book over and over, not the same book over and over again, but they kind of stay in the same milieu, they stay in the same. But for me, I could never, just because I think I would get bored. So I am constantly, and again, it's always like, as I was saying before, I think a dialogue with where I am as a person in the world, and where that is inevitably different with each book. And so I would say, for me, the second book, I was like, well, surely it's going to be easier because I've already written one. But as it turns out, it's not. Because each book for me kind of teaches me how it needs to be written, I guess. Like it's like, again, there's no formula that I'm following. So each book is like a new challenge. It presents a new set of circumstances. The first book I wrote was very kind of not autobiographical, but a lot of elements of it tied personally to my own life. It was in first person. The second book was an ensemble of characters written in the third person, um, set in the future. There are different genre elements. So I think I'm constantly biting off more than I can chew, LOL. And constantly challenging myself because that's the only way for me to keep it interesting.
I think very similarly, I'm really interested in trying different things with the way stories are told. It's what really draws me into like reading or TV or movies is like, why is this story told this way? Like you can show it from a different perspective. It becomes a different story based on who's telling it, why it's being told this way. So when I start an idea, I usually think, who's my narrator and why are they going to tell a story a certain way? My first book for adults was told in reverse, which was a lot of trial and error. And then after that, I tried, like, I've done dual timelines. And to your point, Jonathan, my 10th book, I was like, surely I've got this down by now. And that was by far the hardest book I have written, which was The Last House Guest. It took me four completely different structures, completely different versions. I think there's, a couple character names and the setting stayed the same. But I feel like that's the most important part for me. If I don't nail the structure of like, why is this the way the story's told? It just doesn't work for the book. And if I get it in the first draft, I'm like, okay, this one's going to be smooth sailing. If I don't, it can be a little bit of more work of, okay, like this book that's coming out, You Belong Here, only had one timeline at first. It now has flashbacks in it as well. So it's a little bit of trial and error. I do like to try something different each time. Even though I do write the same genre, I feel like the storytelling element is what changes for me. And in this one in particular, I think like the thing that was different is for the first time I wrote about a character who was a mother sending her child off to college, which is exactly what I was doing at the same time. And I really don't recommend writing a thriller about what you are doing in a given moment in your life. That was a challenge in a very different way, like an emotional challenge. Like, let me imagine all the things that can go wrong in a thriller as I'm sending my kid off to college, as I'm about to do the same.
That sounds horrifying. I would never. Did you sleep at all? How often were you checking in on your kid?
Well, it was the summer before, so I was inspired to write the idea when we were on all these college tours, and I was like, you know what would be a great idea? Talking about all the things they're not telling us on these college tours. What secrets do they have? And she was like, yeah, that sounds fun. And then I spent that whole summer like writing that, and I was like, it's not as fun as it sounded when you're getting ready to go.
That sounds amazing. I mean, I'm taking notes from all of you. In my case, it's kind of like what Jonathan said earlier. So there's a lot that came from me personally in terms of the emotions, and then I threw it together with interesting settings and fictional characters, and it became this thing. I think the challenge for me now is it's wonderful and it's scary that it's my debut novel and there's a lot of hype suddenly around it. Like it made the New York Times book list and NPR and I don't know what. So suddenly there's all this buzz. And I just feel a tremendous amount of pressure for book two to do well. With the first book, it took me a long time. I had to dig deep, and I wrote a story that I feel is really meaningful, and it took its time. And now, because I have this 2-book deal with my publisher, that's wonderful. I have less than a year to write the second one. So I have wonderful ideas. I've presented them. I've started writing. But I think part of it is just that pressure of delivering to this level again so quickly. And It just all feels like nothing happens for a decade and then a decade happens in a week. And now I have to recreate that somehow. But I do think that because I've lived in all of these different countries and I've been a journalist, so I'm used to writing. I'm very methodical with my writing. I can sit down. I have the opposite of writer's block, where I have too much I want to say. I just don't have time to sit down and get it out because kids and life. And so I'm excited, but there is also that feeling of nerves that you want to just make sure that you're hitting that standard each time. So like Megan, when you were saying 10th book, I'm like, oh my God, she's amazing. How do you do that again and again? It's wonderful. And I think we're very lucky because we've chosen a profession where we're always learning. So just like Jonathan said, it's your moods, it's the different stages of your life. I feel like, so my children are 10 and 7, and I still am not sure how to write about motherhood because I'm so stuck in it day to day. I haven't processed it. Whereas the novel that I did write is about a young woman, she's 25, she's discovering herself, she's dating in New York. Like that ship has sailed, we've processed it, so I can write about it. So there's an element of that. Like, what have I lived through that I can write about now and share?
Absolutely. Oh, I can't imagine spending 10 years on this and then being suddenly asked to, okay, here's your deadline, here's your timeline, get to moving
Yeah, I meditate a lot now. I've become a meditator.
just to survive publishing.
Mm.
Now, all of you have either played in or work in all of these genres. What do you think makes your genre so compulsively readable? What makes your writing so compulsively readable?
I came to the genre of crime fiction, and I say this generally because it's such a broad genre, right? You have your thrillers, your mysteries, you have the hybrids of various genres, and I love them all. But I came to my genre as a fan, as a reader first, and I think it's the case for so many authors that we end up writing in sort of similarly to what we read. And I know for me, like it was a genre that I've only ever known to be addictive. The first psychological thriller I ever read was Loves Music, Loves to Dance by Mary Higgins Clark, which is so good. If you haven't read it, it's just a classic. Yeah, it's so great. And actually, if you buy the most recent paperback, there was an introduction in it by yours truly. So, which was a great honor of my professional life. But it was a paperback that I plucked from my mother's nightstand one summer, actually in a beach house. And, it was one of those like quintessential for me summer reading experience where we had nothing planned for the afternoon. No one was looking after me or checking what I was doing. And if I was reading books that I was too young for. And I just started reading it and I flipped to the end and then realized I couldn't enjoy the ending if I didn't go through the buildup. This first lesson of crime writing, it's all about the buildup. And I spent just the afternoon on the floor of my mother's bedroom just reading this book. And it was the beginning of a great love story. So I think, it has that propulsive quality. And to me, the best crime novels are the ones that don't compromise on anything. It's plot and characters and voice and setting. And you get to play with all these things. And when it all falls into place at once, it's completely irresistible.
I'm going to jump on that topic too, because the same thing, like I started reading crime fiction growing up. Mary Higgins Clark was one of my introductions. My mom was a huge mystery and thriller reader. And I feel like I was always someone who loved like the questions and the mystery and the what happens next. I was also a kid who was afraid of everything. And so I was like, why do I keep reading these scary books? But I feel like it was almost a journey through where you're going along and you're making it through the other side, and seeing how these other characters do it. And I could kind of connect with that element of these characters who are doing these things that maybe I wouldn't have. And I think that's something else that I find really interesting in mysteries and thrillers, because there is the plot on the surface, which is really addictive. But I think just underneath that, there's this layer of questions of all times of why these characters are making these certain choices and how that line of morality kind of changes. Like, what do you do if it's your child or your father or your brother? How does what you say you're going to do kind of change along those lines? And I think that's what makes them great, like book club and beach read conversations, because people be like, I wouldn't do that. It's like, but are you sure? Because in a thriller, we don't have that element of time to debate or to really think it through. So I think it's really revealing of characters in that way, because you just see their instinct in a way of who they are under the surface. And I think it makes it for a really riveting experience.
Yeah, I think characters is for me is key, because if you don't care about the characters, it doesn't matter how many bells and whistles and narrative tricks you may pull. No one's going to be invested. But that being said, if you can create characters that people care about, it does. I find that one kind of, in terms of like pacing, like one craft trick, I guess, if I could even call it that, is withholding as much information as possible from the audience. I think only giving them just barely what they need to just orient themselves to the story, while withholding as much as possible and just being like kind of, I don't know, coy about it.
Make them curious, make them want to find a way to read between the lines and pick up more out of it because you've given them like just enough.
Yeah, and scenes before you reveal a crucial piece of information. And like again, it's all I think it's just about withholding and kind of teasing them. TBH.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And making sure that the character's hot.
Yeah. They got to be hot.
Yeah.
For a beach read,
We should-
absolutely.
Out of this podcast, we should work on an anthology called Hot Characters. And
The hot
Done,
ones.
done and done. The hot ones. Perfect.
But
I love it.
I also agree with what Jonathan said about kind of ending on a note where you've given them just enough to turn the page. So for me, I love suspense. And this is something you see across genres. So whether it's a great thriller, murder mystery, or it's a coming of age story about a comedian, you want to end it on some note that makes people say to themselves, I'm going to stay awake and read one more chapter. And for me, that's always exciting. So I'm so glad to have found my Mary Higgins Clark tribe right here, fan club. She's great at that. And I think it's a combination of mixing suspense with surprise. So you lead the reader to think that it's going in one direction and then there's something else that comes. I love that when I read. I love to feel taken by surprise and, again, emotionally resonant in some way. And this is something I've tried to write.
Now, Megan, you have answered this already, but I would love to see if there's any update. I would like to hear from all of you. What are your essentials while writing? What are the things you have to have? Sound, location, most importantly to me, snacks that you like to have handy, drinks, cafe order, any of that. Anyone is welcome to start, as it's been this whole time, but
all right, I'll go first. I am a journalist by trade, and when I got serious about writing fiction, I started writing on the Notes app during my commute on the subway. So I used to not be too picky about where I was writing. I've since grown older, and you get attached to your comforts. So coffee, just black coffee, a lot of it. No sugar, no creamer, no nothing. Just black coffee, a lot of it is important. I want to say silence, but that's usually more aspirational than anything. Just the ability to isolate myself, like noise canceling headphones do the job just fine with like a white noise playlist on Spotify, or one song on repeat. So I stop hearing the lyrics and then just like get into this vibe. So then my Spotify Wrapped looks like absolutely batshit because it's like one song 6,000 times. And yeah, so coffee, some measure of silence, or a weird music choice. And then that's really about it. I try to keep it a little like mobile. I write really well on trains because I'm captive and the Amtrak Wi-Fi never works. So there's no distractions. If I'm stuck, I'll go back to writing on my phone. It's less intimidating than the laptop screen, but that's about it.
I cannot write in coffee shops, and I do not understand people that do. My boyfriend actually he's like always bopping about all day long, going to coffee shops. He's also a writer. He's writing there, and it could not be me. I don't know. I find something so just annoying about coffee shop. I'm just like, there's so many people, there's so much going on. You have to like, I don't know. It's like too many like straw wrappers. I don't know. There's something about coffee shops. I'm allergic. I need my office at home. I need to be pounding cold brew. And I need to be, for every novel, I kind of, part of my, I guess, writing process is creating a ever expanding playlist that I can listen to. And it's always kind of like, just helps me get into kind of that flow state you're talking about, like songs that feel almost not like a soundtrack to what I'm writing, but kind of that just evoke the feeling that I am wanting to access while writing. So I do always listen to music for sure.
What are some of the songs on your most recent playlist?
For my new novel, I mean, you wouldn't even to your point. They're the weirdest. It's very weird. I would say like the new novel's really dark. But it's kind of like weird female driven, like dark house techno.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I feel that.
It's not like I wish I could say it was Katy Perry or something that you all would know, but it's just like really weird.
Just Sophie in another room playing on a TV.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, there is some Sophie on the soundtrack. Okay, go off. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Well, like you, I like to write in my office. I think when I'm out in public, and I will, like if I'm on deadline and I'm on an airplane or I will be writing, but I feel like, especially because I'm not somebody who does like a certain amount of word count in a day, feel judged. Like people are going to be like, she stared out the window for the last 30 minutes and then she wrote a sentence and deleted it. Like, so I feel like less judged at home in my office. And I do feel like routine really helps me. So I do listen to music, but usually not when I'm writing. It's like you were saying to get into the headspace of like, if I'm in a certain point of this book, like this is a song that brings me to this character or this mood, and I'll listen to them in the morning, kind of. And then when I'm at the computer, I feel like, okay, things can kind of flow. I am someone very easily distracted. So I like silence. I used to write when my kids were in school from like 9 to 3, or, I didn't write the whole time, but I was kind of, those are my work hours. And even though they're like 17 and 19 now, I've kind of kept that same routine, even though I don't need to get, everyone's driving, but that routine is really helpful to me. And then to also leave things behind at the end of the day. I think, especially when you're writing something that's dark, sometimes, or when I'm doing the research into something that's dark, it's hard to kind of leave that behind at the end of the day. And so having one place that I write kind of like associates with that. And then I leave my office, my laptop, close the door, and kind of feel like I can go out into the rest of my life. And that's helpful. And then we were joking because last time we chatted, for some reason, every time I'm in the editing phase, and it's only in the editing phase, I go to the grocery store and have to buy Pop Tarts. Like there's something about that phase where I am like, it is time. It is time. I make the s'mores Pop Tarts. They're out beside me, cooling off as I'm starting editing, but not when I'm drafting. It's almost like a reward, like you have reached this stage.
Wow. Now I want s'mores Pop-Tarts.
Telling you.
Oh, adding to cart.
Right. I love it. And I love that they're still part of the process.
They are creature of habit.
Oh, wait.
Nothing wrong with that. Sarah, how about you? What are your must-haves? What's your setup like?
I feel like I was deprived of the chance to just really get stuck into a routine because I was working and I had kids. So for me, I could write anywhere, anytime. So I remember during the pandemic, my children were under the age of 5 and I had a full-time job that had gone digital. And I would just block a fake meeting in my calendar, go hide in the kitchen pantry, and like with a kind of my phone light, would just sit there typing because it was the only time that I could get a chance to write. So that's part of the reason why it also took me so long. But now I'd say for the last 6 months, as I'm working on book 2, my routine sounds a lot like Megan's. So my kids go off to school, and I love to work out in the morning because it just wakes me up a little bit. And then I need that cup of coffee, a solid, really great cup of coffee. And then I just sit there and write and get into that flow state. I love to listen to music while I write, but it can't be anything with lyrics. So it'll be something like, cafe jazz music or classical music, just something with no lyrics so that I can't listen in to something else. Sometimes house. And it's so much fun. I think what we do is such a privilege. It doesn't really feel like work. I mean, there are many times when an alarm rings and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go and do XYZ. I almost ran out of time. And as far as snacking, I mean, you say snacks. Look at what I have right here. It's just a box of chocolates. I consume an insane amount of chocolate.
And like, if you are just listening and you're not watching, Sarah just pulled out the most beautiful box of chocolates from next to her.
No, it's so chic.
It's so cute, right? I mean, because my book was published a couple of days ago, I had a lot of people sending me flowers and chocolate. It was just really exciting. And I eat it all. I don't pass it around. I actually wait for the kids to go to sleep. And then that's why the box is now open.
As you should. You did the work.
This makes me feel like such a gremlin because I should have mentioned sugar does play a big part in my process, but it's not nearly as beautiful. So during the pandemic, I started buying candy in bulk.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's it.
Like, I realized you could do it. And so it's like cherry Coke bottles or like blue raspberry rings. That's the stuff. That's the secret sauce.
You weren't kidding about gremlin mode, though.
Nah,
if you're
don't
talking
worry.
the gummy Coke bottles and the blue raspberry rings, I love that.
Halloween all year in your house.
I love gummy candy. I just can't have it in my house because I have no willpower.
Control.
Just
Yeah.
whatsoever. If there is a bag of like Haribo peach gummies, I will absolutely house it in one sitting. To the point where if like sometimes my boyfriend will just like order a bunch of gummies to the house and it'll just be like, this is violence. You are sabotaging me. No gummies at home.
There's book 3.
Yeah.
The sabotage.
Gummy sabotage.
Yeah.
Gummy Sabotage. That's also a great band name.
Yeah.
Now, would any of you say that there has been a big push within publishing or trends within publishing that have directed us this way, that are leading us into the kind of more beachy thing? Or would you say that is more the response of the reader?
I try not to pay attention to trends in publishing because if I did, I can't. For me, I'm the type of writer. It's just like I need to write what I'm gonna write. I can't write. I can't write because of what I think the market wants or what I think an audience wants. For me, I just have to write what is happening in my brain and what I feel most deeply. That's the only. So I guess I don't. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to trends because I never want to chase them. Because I think it would just also make for bad writing. I would just be bad at it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like if I paid attention to trends, I probably wouldn't write. It would scare me off a little bit because they change. But also, I mean, when I was writing this novel, I remember holding myself back for a long time because I was like, who's going to publish a novel about a Palestinian American comedian? Like, is there any chance that this will go mainstream? But it did. So I think part of it is just writing something from the heart that maybe feels fresh or different, but also real because the emotions are real. It's just about love and belonging and acceptance and all these really universal themes that all of us who have traumas and love gummy bears can relate to. So I think for me, trends don't play into it at all because they can't. I just need to write something that feels really, really honest. And that's where the hard work is, just sitting with yourself and thinking about the big things that are in your life and the stories that you tell people and why that's interesting and maybe put that into your work.
And just to kind of, I think, circle back to what we were saying at the very beginning, I do feel like beach reads really can be anything. And definitely, I do love when I'm on vacation to kind of see what everyone else is reading on the beach. And it is so broad. I mean, there's more commercial and there is more literary and there's romance and thrillers and contemporary and sci-fi and every genre. And so I do think, like you were saying, it's not about writing to trends. It's just about, what you connect with is what somebody else as a reader is going to connect with. I think that's how I approach when I'm writing a story. Like if I'm connected to these characters and I'm connecting to this story, then somebody else is going to feel that same way. And there's just a lot of different interests and tastes, and they're all beach reads, or they all can be.
What I find fascinating with books is that it's almost impossible to write to a trend because of the awful amount of time it takes to write a book and then to publish a book. Like,
Yes.
the market right now is not what it will be in a year or even, and that's the fastest people like publish every year, or in 2 years even, or in 5 years. So I find that quite fascinating. Actually, it's one of the aspects of our industry that I think about all the time. The helpful side of that coin is just trying to think of publication and seasons and stuff like that. To me, what it comes back to once I'm sitting down to write is just thinking about the reader, right? Like maybe a first draft, you write a little bit more for yourself because it's you trying to figure out the story. But I know that when I revise, everything I do is just thinking about the reader and what the experience will be like of reading that book. And that's when I start thinking about things like pacing and, how to make this as absorbing as it can be so that someone ends up reading it, preferably on the floor of their mother's bedroom, having picked it up just to look at a page and then they just have to read the rest.
I love that. Oh, what a great note to end on. Before I let you all go, I want to make sure we go around the room, tell the listeners where they can find you online, what you're working on right now, anything you'd like to promote.
I'm Jonathan Parks-Ramage. You can follow me on Instagram at JP Rampage. My new book, It's Not the End of the World, will be out on, I don't know when this is going to air, but it will be out June 3rd. So either pre-order it or just plain order it, depending on when this airs. Yeah.
And Megan, I'll jump over to you now.
Yeah. So I am mostly on Instagram, probably more than I should be, at Megan L. Miranda. I also have a Facebook page, author Megan Miranda. And my new book is You Belong Here, which comes out July 29th. And that is my small college town thriller. So yeah, I am very excited for all of these books too. Sound amazing.
And Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, so Instagram is probably the best platform for me. You can find me at by Sara Hamdan. And my book, What Will People Think, just came out May 20th. And I couldn't be more excited about it. The next novel will be coming out, I think, in a year and a half. And I'll be able to share more details about that as soon as it's all good to go. Yeah, thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, thank you for being here. And Clémence, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm Clémence, last name Michallon, universally acknowledged as a name that is absolutely impossible to pronounce, including by myself. Like I'm from France originally. It took me 10 years to land on a pronunciation that I would go with. My second thriller, Our Last Resort, is coming out on July 8th. It is my dual timeline, luxury resort, Utah desert, upstate New York cult thriller. Adult siblings, chosen families, long buried secrets. All of this is in this book. And I can be found in the Hudson Valley a lot of the time, but also on Instagram. My handle is Clémence Michallon, just without the accent on the E. And I also have a Substack, which I'm actually realizing that I need to update urgently. But it's clemencemichallon.substack.com. And it's, mainly for updates and giveaways and tour stops and stuff like that. I'm going to be going on tour for Our Last Resort. So hopefully coming to a bookstore near you very soon. And thank you so much for having me. And my TBR just grew by 3 more books. So I just can't wait to read everyone's books.
I love it. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time and chatting beach reads.
It's so fun. Thank you.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I want to buy all your books and Pop-Tarts.
Books and Pop-Tarts. That's the important things. Well, listeners, now we'll transition to the next segment, somewhat awkwardly. Hey, y'all, it's that time in the episode where we take a quick break before our next segment. Since we're talking about beach reads, I thought I'd tell you where you could go to grab hats and tote bags for all of your outdoor adventures this summer, including this really cool canopy hat. Check out plotthreadshop.com for Libby, canopy, library, and podcast merch to help you beat the summer heat and stay cozy in the cold. Remember, profits from plotthreadshop.com are donated to the American Library Association's Office of Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services. So not only can you find things that will make you feel cozy and good, you can also know that your purchase is going to do good as well. And make sure you're all ready for any travel situation. You can check out libbylife.com for more recommendations and conversations, and even bonus content from Book Lounge that you cannot find anywhere else. Go to libbylife.com and check out Book Lounge. So there you go. 2 recommendations for the price of one, plotthreadshop.com for all sorts of super fun merch, and libbylife.com for bonus content from the show. Now, back to the show. Well, hey everyone. I hope you've got your beachwear on and are ready for the perfect reads to enjoy on your vacation. This is the part of our show where our guest hosts give you book recs to absolutely murder your TBR. So here are those beach reads for you. We're recording in 2 parts, but through the magic of editing, you will see everyone without any break or pause. But up first, we have Jananie K. Velu at This Story Ain't Over, Amy Allen Clark at Mom Advice, and Bree at Locked_Booktition. Of course, everyone will be linked in the show notes, so you can go follow all of these wonderful people there as well. But hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
How's
Hi.
it going? Hi. How y'all doing today?
Pretty good.
I'm excited to talk about this. This will be fun.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Right. Now, I
Mhm.
know beach reads is such a wild, I don't know, like, what is a beach read? I love that it's kind of that amorphous, anything you're taking with you on vacation. Like, we've come up with this like term for something that always, it's like, oh, that's a book I'm going to travel with. But it's summer. I want to be as warm as possible, getting burned to a crisp in the sun.
A
Wear your
crisp.
SPF. Yeah. Wear your SPF, everyone. No joke. We want to live as long as we can. Anyway, what do y'all think? What comes to mind immediately? What are your beach read go-tos?
Well, I actually went quite literal. I did pick 2 books with beach settings because I do
Love it.
love a beach setting. So that immediately transports a reader to the beach. So I went that direction, but I will do anything that's light and frothy on the beach. I love popcorn thrillers, something that I can pick up and put down, that I don't mind if it gets a little wet if I have a book, unless it's a library book. Never
Yes.
that. Never want her side with a library book.
Yeah, those don't travel.
Yes.
No. I don't really know what I think about a beach read because I read so much murder, murder, stab, stab that I'd be like, so what's comfort? What does that look like? And I was like, I'll just be literal with one of the picks I chose, but it's not what you think it is. But I'll tell you later. But it's just I don't be knowing what to bring because I bring a lot of he got killed, she got killed, they got killed. Now what happened? Type of thing. So yeah.
Death
I'm
by the pool.
honestly, I was gonna say, I'm honestly the same. Like, I read a lot of sad crying stuff. So I'll be on the beach with my book crying. And I will call that a beach read because I read it on
Yeah.
the beach or I read it during the summer. And, that's just the vibes. So I think beach reads is more of a state of mind rather than, a location necessarily. But I'm curious to hear what everyone recommended because I have one that's like more of a beach read because it's actually set during a vacation. Though, is it happy all the time? I wouldn't say so. But I also have one that's like really dark and I still consider it a beach read. So
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
I think that's perfect. I think that's absolutely the vibe that, like, hey, this is a genre that this is a theme that you can pull whatever you want. And so there's something for everyone today. So with that, let's see. Jananie, do you want to kick it off with your? I know. Just as soon as you muted, I was like,
That pick
you
me
can go
energy.
first. Yeah.
Oh my God. I have pick
Begging
me
to be picked.
energy.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh my God. I'm gonna put that like on a sweater, on a hat. I have pick
Don't
me
do it.
energy.
Don't do it.
Advertise it for the world.
Mm-mm.
You
Don't do
know?
it. It can go south. It can
It
go
could
south.
go
Don't do it.
so south.
It can go.
Yeah,
I'm talking to the pits of hell. Don't do it.
Yeah. I've been told I have a very expressive face, which causes people, and I think that's why. But
It
yeah,
is.
It's
yeah.
perfect.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Yeah. For anyone who wasn't watching,
Yeah.
when Joe said my name, my eyes went like big. So yeah. Anyways, we're talking
And
about
if you're
beach
not
reads.
watching, if you're not watching, go get to this timestamp and watch it happen.
Yeah, it's precious. Okay, so my first pick is Never Been Better by Leanne Toshiko Simpson. I feel like this is such a underrated book. I don't hear people talk about it a lot, but I actually know the author personally, and she's a lovely human, and she's also got bipolar disorder like me, and this book is a sort of rom-com summer romance, but with a mentally ill main character who's just, trying to figure herself out and trying to do her best. And I think there are so few representations of mental illness in a positive and sort of regular everyday context that this book was just so refreshing in that way. And essentially, our main character is part of a trio of friends who were at the psych ward together, and two of them end up, in a relationship, and our main character D is sort of pining after this guy, and it turns into this like my best friend's wedding / Silver Linings playbook type of situation. Like she travels to their wedding and, says she's going to stop it, but really, she has a very meaningful discovery of what her relationship is to these people and to, her own sense of self and her sense of self outside of the psych ward, which I thought was just so interesting. So at points, it's a very fun, hilarious rom-com beach read, but it's also got that very nice, layer of having a bit more to it and being a, type of representation that you may not usually see. So I really love it for that reason.
Ooh, this sounds so good.
I think that's incredible. That was one of those like, I guess that's immediately going on the list because the representation is important. The fact that you're like, I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but this book is so crucial. And you held it up and I went, oh yeah, I know that. Why haven't I heard more about it? And I love a journey. I love that kind of chaotic energy of who knows what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And as a
I love chaotic main characters.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, you're good. But as a therapist, I'm always looking for positive representation of mental health because I'll read something and I'm like, well, clearly you just did a quick Google online and you said, yep, that's how I'm going to describe my character. And I also don't like the way that mental health is so demonized in the spooky genres. It's just like, why are you picking out the worst of worst things and, making it more grandeur to get your point across that this is a thriller? You can do a thriller without doing all of that. So I think that's cool. I'll be adding that to my list as well.
Yeah, and representation matters so much. I know, like, anytime I see anything that is remotely applicable to my own life, I get really excited about reading that book and feeling seen by something. So this sounds really incredible.
Yeah, to not feel left out. Well, let's see. Ooh, who wants to go next? I feel like I should either leave space for the volunteers or torch you all with a random name pick again. Bree, go for it. I tortured myself, it turns out.
Listen, I don't know what to do. I have the 3 books. Okay, I'll choose this one. It is very beautiful. This is like a special edition.
That is gorgeous.
Right? So cool. So this is The Oath by the author T.M. Richardson. She's a Black woman. I've been mutuals with her for a while. And I actually did an interview with her about this book, but I'm not really like versed in romance. So I'm going to try my best to explain this. So this is male, 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 female. I think it's 3 dudes. Okay, it is 3 dudes. I just want to say that. Okay, 3 dudes, 1 woman. So it starts off with tragedy. The main character fell in love with her husband, thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. The best thing since sliced bread. Then her husband go ahead and choke. We're talking death here. He died. He leaves her a message and he's like, look, I told my best buddies, 3 of them, to take care of you. And whatever that means, to take care. You hear me?
Ooh.
So she's like, okay, they're nice. These guys are nice. They're helping me. They're supporting me. And they're like, we're falling in love with you. We want to support that derriere as well. And then it just continues to go and go and go. And then you get the story. You get the story of like how their beautiful love just come together and just, it's just such a beautiful way to show how you can give love and receive love romantically from multiple people. I think a lot of times we think that love is 2 people. No, this is a good representation of that. You can get love from multiple people as well. I think this was written very well. I think also the main characters, and because all the characters are Black, but the men really defy a lot of stereotypical things that people think of Black men just by looking at them. One of the characters, he looked like he's ready to go to a biker shop and light that mug up. But he's like a neurosurgeon. Like he's like something really smart. You're like, what? So I think
It's got
this book
range.
it does have range. It just reminds me that like you can't judge a book from a cover because people got layers, you know? So definitely think the smut level, I don't know, I'm kind of new to smut, but if I had to rate it on the scale of holding hands being a 1 and 5 of rearranging furniture, I would put it at a 5. So that's my review.
I love it.
But
You're really taking
Petition
me
to
out of
have
my
Brie-
wheelhouse here. I really like that.
Yeah.
I love it. No, petition to have Brie like describe every romance and romantasy. You know, like just write all the
Absolutely.
descriptions because if they were all described that way, I would pick them all up.
That was the
If-
only way I knew how to describe that. I was like, what do I say about this book?
Absolutely need the like cut to the chase. The 3 of them fall in love with her. Like, okay, well, and now we're rearranging
Yes.
furniture.
We
so
are rearranging that
we've
lamp.
got
Mhm.
5 peppers, and I know what I'm in for.
Mm-hmm.
But you know
Absolutely.
what? People are reading this on the beach too.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
love
can't
it.
tell me they not.
And
You-
at
you don't-
work, on their lunch hour.
With
Mhm.
straight faces,
On
not
straight
giving away
faces.
anything.
Yeah,
not
You
there
never
is no
know.
bad place for a spicy book.
No.
You
The
never know what's
audiobook,
playing in my
too.
headphones.
Yeah. The audiobook is phenomenal.
Ooh.
Okay.
The audiobook is phenomenal. And it's on Libby. Just saying.
Okay.
Not to
And
do a
it's-
plug,
Love
but it's
it.
And
true.
it's linked in the show notes, so you can go and borrow it right there. And for those of you recording with me right now, you can also see it linked in our doc. So you can hop and
Perfect.
add that right to a tag.
Mhm.
Would it be distracting if I order it right now while we're on here? Or...
Listen,
Maybe a little.
she's phenomenal. I also forgot to say this is a 3-part series, and she just released book 3. Book 2 is fantastic as well. I don't
Does
know.
the
I mean, you
cast
do.
get bigger like in this book? Or not?
Nope, this stays the same.
Okay.
There's some changes that happen, but I don't want to spoil it. There is some
Okay.
changes in the dynamics that happen, but yeah. Yeah. And she has a fantastic TikTok if you're looking to follow TM Richardson. She's pretty dope.
Okay.
I love it. Well, Amy, how about your first pick? Where are you taking us?
I mean, not that direction, but I actually really loved that. This will switch it up a bit. I actually am bringing Slanting Towards the Sea, which is written by Lydia Hillier, and the audiobook narrator, I believe, is Amani Jade Powers. So I did look up, and she has voiced a lot of books that you're probably familiar with. And I picked this book for a couple of reasons. It is a debut. And Lydia, English is her second language. She actually was practicing law in Croatia and then decided she wanted to go after a dream of writing a book. So she left behind her like flourishing law career and wrote this novel. And it's a novel about second chances. So I feel like it's Lydia's second chance, and it's also her novels like about second chances. It is set in Croatia, so it's very evocative. It's lush. It's beautiful. This is definitely a book for people who like character-driven stories. But I would also say it has enough plot that if you're not usually a literary fiction reader, you'll still be pulled in. It's about this woman who she is unable to have children, and she has a happy marriage, but this becomes a little bit of a complex situation for her. And she realizes he would make a great dad. So she divorces him so he can move on with his life with someone else, which I think is a brave choice, but she knows she doesn't have what he needs in this relationship. And so she ends up basically being in this really difficult position in the crossroads of her 30s, where her father's health is failing. She has to figure out a property that he owns that was going to be a beautiful hotel property, but she ends up not being able to, fulfill that dream for her dad. She needs to sell this property. She's also at a holding place with her job. So she was supposed to be a biological engineer, and she's really passionate about, in particular, olive oil and the making and the production of that. And on this hotel property that she's trying to sell is this beautiful olive grove, trees that are flourishing there. And she just has never been able to live her dream because of capitalism, because of governmental funding not being available to her, not being able to actually have success in her job. And so she is not where she wants to be. And she's selling this property. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult is because those olive grove trees are going to be knocked down for an infinity pool for Instagram, which really, really is terrible. So she's at that place where she has to make these big decisions, and her life becomes intertwined again with her old love as she's, settling this estate. And she is realizing that maybe she let things go too soon. And a love triangle does start to ensue. But I want people to know that it's a very unusual love triangle. It's not like what you think it's going to be. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I thought it was really uniquely told. And her writing is so, so good. It is a beautiful pick, and I think it's going to have a lot of success this summer.
Okay.
That sounds fabulous.
Right?
Yeah. You sold that.
Okay. I just have never read anything in Croatia, too. So, I do think, being an American, I sometimes feel like, things are so hard for us, right? Like we're going through all of these big things happening with government and feeling like we're not being supported and, not able to accomplish our dreams because governmental systems are not working for us. This is kind of a universal experience, right? In a lot of other places. And I think it's important for us to explore that, especially in book clubs. Like, it's a really safe place to talk about what's happening in Croatia and how it overlaps with our own lives.
Oh, definitely. There's just so much packed into that story that I'm like, oh, I need to see how this tale gets told. And right, my first thought when you were like, oh, capitalism, like, right, we're not in America right now. This is Croatia. This is a universal experience, and hate hearing that.
Yeah. But it also strengthens that books are political and you can learn from them.
Yes. And I do think like that cozy blanket of it's in a different country, but then like it's an opportunity to also talk about what you are facing in your own country. Yeah, I just loved it so much. I think Lydia is going to be a really great new addition to our book stacks.
Absolutely. And that point of just, all of it. So good. Well, Jananie, we're back around to you. Book 2. I know I was excited when I saw this one from you. I can't wait to read it.
It's fabulous. I want everyone to read it. Again, this is like an underrated one. I feel like not enough people talk about it. But that book is The Bandit Queens by Perini Shroff. And this is my not so happy, but kind of funny and happy book rec for beach reads. Because this is like, so I've described this as a cozy mystery on my channel before. And people were like, but it has so many dark things. And I was like, yes. It deals with caste. It deals with, murder and lots of awful things. But it takes it from a very sort of, I wouldn't say light tone, but from a understanding tone from someone who is like living in this situation and has no other choice but to deal with these things in their regular day and must still find, the happiness, the joy outside of that as well. But essentially, this book follows our main character, Geeta, who is a Indian woman living in this small village. And the women in her village sort of have been, not able to access a lot of opportunities for most of their lives. They've been married, they've been homemakers, and they find themselves in this group where the government is giving them sort of like these stipends to start their own like small businesses and things. And amongst that group is this other woman who thinks that Geeta, whose husband mysteriously disappeared 5 years ago, that other woman thinks that Geeta murdered her husband when in fact he just up and left. And so Geeta finds herself in this funny little situation at the beginning of the book where this other character wants her to get rid of her husband because there's a lot of, these characters are dealing with a lot of misogyny, the patriarchy, so much awful violence against women within this book as well and against lower caste women. But the way that this book sort of takes this concept and all these issues that these characters are facing and very political issues, but puts it in a context of sort of this cozy mystery because Geeta finds herself sort of banding with these other women in this group and trying to figure out how to navigate this sort of situation because, Geeta isn't trying to murder anyone, but there are murders that happen in the book, and I don't want to spoil anything. But yes, if you've ever wanted to follow like a band of just funny, amazing brown women, doing their thing and just, trying their best in a world that is very much working against them, like this is the book to read. So that's the Bandit Queens.
I will always be this person. What a gorgeous cover.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
A stunning cover. It makes me think of like 60s Bewitched kind of aesthetic, like the animation intro. And as you said, I do want to follow a cast of like funny misfit brown women and hear their stories. So absolutely.
Yeah, I would like read, a whole ass series of these women because they're just so fun. And I was just so invested in them as people by the end. Like there's this very small detail of like Geeta wanting a refrigerator and just wanting to have enough money to get a refrigerator. And it was such an endearing quality that I think, just humanized her so much and just like made her such a relatable character, like that feeling of wanting just that one thing that is out of reach. And that's something that's kind of like universal. So yeah.
And I love too the veil of cozy mystery, like with bigger themes in it, which I feel like more authors are tackling than used to be like a really straight shot of a cozy mystery. And so it pulls in people like me who don't typically read cozy mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that elevated cozy, something plus to it all. I also had to look up when this book came out because I remember like putting this on a list of like, I need to read this and I'm mad that I still haven't. And now I'm going to have to immediately. But I can't believe she doesn't have another book out yet.
I know. I want one.
It's been 2
It's
years.
a tragedy.
Yeah.
You know,
So
maybe
maybe
she's
if everyone
working
goes
on
and
it.
picks it up, maybe one will come out. Who knows?
See, here we go. We're petitioning for book 2. We're all gonna read book 1 so we can get a series going.
Yep.
Bree, how about your next pick?
Okay, I'll just go with the serious one. Okay. This is The Wishing Pool by Tananarive Due. If I ever had a literary idol, she would be it. Hands down. The Reformatory by Tananarive Due, there's a story in here that relates to that story. So if you're looking for that, this is definitely the book for you. This is filled with just short stories. I think each story to me is a representation of Black culture, Black history. Each story talks about how, in a spooky way, but like using horror and using science fiction, just talks about a different part of Blackness that is disenfranchised here in the US and how, historical trauma has really impacted us. I think this is a great book. I always say that this is a great book to get into Tananarive. If you're like, I want to know her range. I want to know what stories she can write. I want to know how she does her character development. I think this is a great book for that. One of my favorite stories in this book is of this girl, and I think she's with her siblings, if memory serves me right. And all the siblings had to stay together, and they were like, we have to stay here. We have to wait on mom. Mom is coming. And it talks about like how there was external things that got into the way of mom showing up for them, but also the burden of being a bigger sister, which I think a lot of people can relate to, that burden of being the older sibling and have to do motherhood or do parenthood while you're also a child. And that tends to be a reality that a lot of Black folks in this country can relate to. And just how that story was told, I thought it was beautifully done. I actually got emotional about it. I usually don't get emotional about stuff, but I really appreciated that. There's just so much good stuff into this novel that I think it would be really good for people if they're like, again, want to see the range of Tananarive. And if you're interested in the reformatory, which I gave 5 stars, hands down, you can get a story from Gracetown that is inside of this book again. So yeah, that's my pick.
She has been on my bucket list forever. And I did buy the reformatory. It's a high page count. That's why I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm always like trying to turn out stuff for content. And, you know, sometimes the bigger books don't get put on my stack because I'm like trying to do more shows. So I actually am really excited now because I feel like this makes it more accessible. I could do like a story at a time instead of trying to tackle the big book. Although I need to get better about like smaller doses of big books, which I'm not very good at either because I tend to be a binger on my literature. So yeah, great pick.
And I think this is like this might be the lowest count in books I've read for her. It's 296 pages.
Oh, yeah.
Like the
I can do
reformatory is over 500.
Yeah,
it's a
big one. I bought it on Kindle, just simply, I don't know if I could even hold that around.
I listened to the audiobook of the reformatory and also like I read it a bit. I love that book and I've been meaning to get into her other books. So this is actually a really great recommendation for me because now I know my way in. Yeah.
I also have a guide on my YouTube channel where I say this is a guide to Tananarive. So if you're like looking how you want to read her books from what I perceive to be less spooky to more spooky, you can go ahead and check that out too if you want, or I can just verbally tell you too. So
perfect.
That's
we're gonna go and watch. We're all gonna do the views.
We'll help you.
And that's so helpful to have. I think a short story collection or a story collection is also such a brilliant pick to travel with because you can get distracted by being on the vacation you're on or doing the travel that you're doing. And Amy, this will definitely help you with the like, okay, how could I read more than one book at a time?
Yes.
If one of them is a collection of smaller things.
It's true.
That might be it.
Yeah. It's the gateway drug to a new life for me.
That's what we're all waiting
so
for,
excited.
Right? Well, speaking of Amy, what's your next pick? What's your last pick?
Okay, my last pick is really out of my wheelhouse, but I feel like I'm going to sell it to you all because it might be out of your wheelhouse too. It's called Sister Sinner, and it's written by Claire Hoffman. Just for background on this author, she grew up in the transcendental meditation movement. Her family is in it, kind of the hippie religion. And then she went on to divinity school. And then she went on to a journalism career at the Rolling Stone and LA Times. So I'm just telling you this because of the lens of her storytelling is quite unique. She also was adjacent to like Michael Jackson in his final days, Amy Winehouse in his final days. She did the coverage of that and kind of has this very contemplative reaction to celebrity in a way that I don't think most people have because she was adjacent to that. So she had run across this woman named Amy Semple McPherson, who was the very first megachurch leader ever. She's before Billy Graham, even though Billy Graham is kind of what people think of as like the megachurch leader. Like back in the day, she was this spectacular person. She could get anyone to sign up for anything. She was like Martha Stewart, basically. She had a print publication that she was running before anyone was doing print. She was the first person to get excited about radio. She was super excited about what TV might bring to her career. People came from all over the world to be healed by her. She's, had all of these special gifts. She has a lot of charisma. She's a fascinating figure just to unbox. However, Claire also knew that most people are not biography readers. So she was like looking for the hook. Like, how am I going to pull people into this really fantastic woman, her story, that might not typically read that? So she started her story with a very unusual pocket of Amy's life, which really divided her life after that. She was swimming one day and disappeared for 35 days. She went out swimming. No one could find her. They sent search teams. People died in the pursuit of finding Amy. Like, they were planning a funeral. She was gone. And then she came back and she had a very wild and bizarre story to tell. And that story was that she had been kidnapped. They were planning to sell her into quote unquote white slavery. She said that terrible things had happened to her. And then she came back after that and still continued to cultivate a role in the Pentecostal church. Okay. And it led to 2 sensational trials. And it was the most bizarre trials you could ever imagine in your life, the most bizarre witnesses. Just the story keeps unboxing. But also Claire did a lot of research on her childhood, who she was growing up. How does someone become charismatic? How do they get people to follow them? How do you build a church like that? And it is so, so good. And what is even crazier is she is the first researcher ever to have access to the court files that have been closed for almost a century of time, because this occurred, I guess, in the 1920s. So like a century of time. It has never been unboxed. Foursquare Church never allowed anyone clearance to actually access these. And so she's the first person to uncover those files. And when she got in there, some of it was redacted, and it wasn't necessarily the experience that she was hoping for, because, even all this time later, there's redacted elements of those trials. However, it is really special because she had spent years and years writing letters to unbox this access, to finally get access to that. And so I am not at liberty to speak upon the movie rights of this, but I will say that you will all know Amy Semple McPherson by some point in time when the official announcement is made for it to come to screen, and the person who bought it is sensational and very well-known pop culture figure, and she's going to be bringing this story to life, and it has never been brought to screen before. Just Amy's had cameos, I think, in maybe Ryan Murphy films or things like that, but you will know her name at some point in your life. And I hope the introduction is through Sister Sinner. I think it's a great, juicy biography that anyone would really, really be transported into this summer.
Amy, that was a wild ride.
I've been working on this pitch a lot. I have all my notes in front of me because I'm like, I don't want to mess anything up. But she did so much work. And I feel like no one is talking about it, and it has been in New York Times, it's been in Rolling Stone. They've done profiles and profiles. And I see there were 18 reviews on Goodreads when I last checked. I'm like, how is no one engaging with this book? It's had spectacular press. And I guess it will get its, it'll get its season when it's announced. But for now, just know it's under the radar at this point in time.
I mean, I guess it only came out 2 weeks ago, but
yeah, there was not a lot of early coverage.
Sneak peek. But
yeah.
Right. But I'm surprised. I don't think I heard of this at all. And I had never heard of Amy Semple McPherson. When you said woman in megachurch, I go to Tammy Faye. That's what I think of. And then that whole description for us to end up in the 20s was also unexpected on top of all of this.
And it's got a very secular eye to it. So it's not oh, this is a very church book. It's let's play around with the 2 versions of Amy. Sister Sinner, the title kind of clues you in. It's oh, she's a fundamentalist, but she's also a feminist. And, there's things about her that are in contradictory aspects of her character that make her extremely special and interesting. And yeah, I think I would totally buy whatever Amy Semple McPherson was selling. I think I would totally hook, line, and sinker. And we did actually interview Claire on our show. So if anyone's curious about her story, her writing story and her writing journey is fascinating to me.
Oh, I'm still just shook.
hmm Some people just the pen is hot. I feel that way about Stacy Stiff. She is good. Like her nonfiction, her books she wrote about Cleopatra
Oh,
had me
yes.
sat and seated. The books she wrote about witches, I was like, they were out here killing folks like this. I was like, this is a shame. Resurrect them so we can bury them again. No, I'm just kidding, but that was just something I was thinking of, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you all for your picks. This is the part where I say an awkward transition to the next group of book recommendations. All right, now with the magic of technology, computer powers, and editing, we are in part 2 of our Beach Read book recommendations. Joining me now, we've got Cece at Cece Ewing _ and Kayla at Books and Lala. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
Thank you.
So glad you both could be here today and share some book recommendations. How's it going?
Good. It's
I'm
definitely not
excited.
a beach day here. It's raining.
No,
That'll be okay.
I know. We had like beach weather, it felt like last week. We were in the 80s and I thought about turning on the air. And I was just like, be strong. It's going to be 55 tomorrow. And now we've been in the like 50s and 60s for days and it's brutal.
It's the Pacific Northwest here, so it's just rain, rain, rain. I don't know if I know the summer.
Well, one day she's going to show up and slap us across the face and we will know summer. But for now, talking beach reads, what I love about this, it's like a mishmash. It's like, what even is a beach read? I talked about it in the intro for the episode, but what even is a beach read? So what do the two of you look for in your beach reads? What are the travel picks you go for? Or what is the summer for you seasonally as a reader? I'm discovering that beach reads just mood reading. So what are each of your summertime moods?
I think like going to the beach. I live in a beach town, like a small Canadian
Oh.
lake town. So we're at the beach a lot already. But there's a difference between going to the beach like solo and going to the beach as a mom. And it feels like very different experiences. There's this feeling of like needing a vacation after your vacation when you're on a trip with young children, because there can be like a lot of prep work and you have to be just as responsible for everything as you are at home. And then the beach brings like an extra element of having to keep an eye on everybody and do everything and everything even more. So having those few moments to sit and relax with a book, I think parents need the types of books that can be like picked up and put down a million times throughout the weekend or the trip or whatever, that when things are distracting you from your book, you can get back into it really easily. So I don't like books that require a lot of my brain. Something that's so easy. And I
Yeah.
think that could be like any genre, really. It's just something that doesn't require me to really remember what I was reading 4 hours ago before I got distracted.
I think easy is a key word for me too. I spend so much of the rest of the year reading really serious books, and I just feel like summer is that time to take a break, escape from that, and have a little bit more fun with what I'm reading.
Oh, 1,000%. I definitely feel like summer to me is YA. It is not beach reads. It's graphic novels. It's summer camp stories. Like I want it to feel like the time of the year of what I'm reading while I'm in it, but also absolutely I want to have my brain shut off because this is like nap time while awake. This is full Zen relaxation mode. Well, who would like to give me their first pick?
So I wanted to recommend a romance first. I feel like romances, I love to get through so many of them in the summertime because they're quick and easy. And Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner is like a new fave of mine. It is so sweet. It was recommended for fans of Ted Lasso, and I was going through really intense Ted Lasso withdrawals, and this was fantastic. So it's one like something I'm really passionate about as a queer woman is how many like married or dating sapphic couples there are in women's sports. So any version of sapphic sports books, definitely my thing. This is kind of a grumpy sunshine romance about two soccer teammates, the secretly injured captain and the new recruit, who are kind of at odds with each other at first, but they pretty quickly fall into a teammates with benefit situation. And while one of them is determined to keep it at that level, the other one is falling pretty hard. It's just a delightful, enjoyable cast, a wonderful romance, and I love these two.
What a cute title. What a great cover. And all of those tropes. Like those are primetime tropes.
That sounds so cute. I also have a romance, but I'm going to go with a mystery first because I feel like the perfect companion for me on a beach trip is a mystery. Because then you can like read a little bit in the car, read a little bit on the plane, read a little bit when you're waiting for whatever, read a little bit in bed at the end of the day. I like when you like get clues every time you pick up the book. So it's like a really organized one. Mine is going to be Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Catherine Mack. This is perfect because it takes place on vacation. It's in Italy, and you're following a writer on a book tour with a bunch of other people, including her ex, who inspired a character in her book series that she's writing. They have gotten to a certain level of fame where he relies on the book series for like money and attention. And she, the author, is ready to kind of end the series and move on to something else. And he feels a certain way about that. So she plans to kill off his character. But in the meantime, on their actual real life trip, someone is trying to kill him in reality. So there's like this vague danger that's following them around, but it's also really silly and goofy at the same time. There's like a side romance plot. There's a really direct to reader style that I love because it helps you feel engaged no matter how many times I've had to pick it up and put it down because she's talking to you. Occasionally she'll literally go like, okay, let's put all the pieces together of the last 3 chapters and remember what happened. And then like in the next chapter, keep an eye out for this. So it's like guiding you as you're reading it because she's the author of the book inside the book. And it just feels very meta. I read it while I was on vacation on the coast last summer, and it was just like literally perfect for that environment.
Again.
And the sequel just came out.
No, sneak that in there. Go ahead. Give it its full attention.
I don't know anything about it, but I just picked it up. So like if you love a series, it's already out. So you can get hyped for the second one.
I mean, what a great title, too. Like,
it's hard to remember.
Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies. I love the absurdist, like, super long title.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I love a long title.
Yes.
Same.
And I have to pick that up because I love that direct to reader. I don't feel like you see that a lot. And something about the author saying, okay, let's summarize what happened in the last 3 chapters just really tickles me. And so I need to see what this is about.
Well, I also brought something a little darker because I feel like I also spend summer pre-gaming for autumn. So I'm reading like my more fun horror and getting ready for the more like atmospheric or slow-paced stuff in the autumn. So I wanted to recommend a novella that I actually also read on vacation. Love it. Which is Guillotine by Delilah S. Dawson. This is super fun. It's really quick. I think it's a great beach read because you can read it in a sitting. It is just a novella, but it feels to me like watching a big horror comedy to a degree, but with a lot of bloody vengeance. It's about a girl who goes to her boyfriend's family's island for the weekend. She's hoping to make some connections, maybe get ahead in the fashion industry. And then without warning, the staff turns on the family and it becomes a desperate fight for survival. This is very much like a, I don't know, eat the rich kind of novel. It's if you enjoy celebrating just a bloody good time, then this is perfect. And it was perfect for me for that. So.
And she's like on vacation in the book, right? So
yeah,
it's like
she is.
Perfect. I love that book. It's so absurd. Like, it's just such a good time.
It is. It's so over the top. It reminded me so much of Ready or Not, which is one of my favorite horror comedies of all time. So
I had such a hard time choosing what I wanted to recommend because like there are so many novellas and short story collections that would be such good recommendations because like they're just like quick. It's just like, oh, you just get to read it in a couple minutes. You feel like you're done with it. Okay, I have a romance. This is such a good balance. We both had like a thriller and we both had a romance.
Yeah,
okay.
I love that.
Here's mine. It's called Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier. I'm not a romance reader primarily. Like I read 200 to 300 books a year and only a handful are romance. And
So one getting 5 stars is just like very rare. So this takes place in Trinidad, which is definitely a destination beach travel place for many people. So the atmosphere is perfect. You're following Charisse and Kieran, who don't get along, but not in a super deep enemies kind of way. They just have assumptions they've made about each other over the years, and they're part of this wedding party for important people in their lives. And we go through, as the reader, a couple months of them together, like having to work together to plan for these various events leading up to the wedding. So they're like pushed together a lot. They're very reluctant to work together, but eventually, of course, they fall in love. They think each other are actually so much more incredible than they ever knew. They both have really like strong personalities, which I'm always looking for in a romance. They play off each other really nicely. There's steam, but there's also plot. Like Charisse is running a bakery. She's dealing with like family pressure. And overall, it's just a really well-balanced romance. It's not too intense. Because for me, like personally, light and fluffy is what I need when I'm at the beach. It's either like dark mystery, but it's still light in a way, or it's romance that is light and fluffy.
Oh,
that one also has some sequels. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I mean, number one, that the art, gorgeous on that cover.
Yes.
Like stunning. And two, I'm with you. I either want light and fluffy, no thoughts, short story collection, or novella, or just like very chill, or the flip side of that. Yeah, I want to be like scared out of my wits, thriller, horror-y on the beach. Like those are there are no other options.
Exactly.
Wow. I feel like I should be like, okay, what were the other books you were thinking about? Is there anything you were fighting for? Is there a secret third you both have?
I couldn't find it. I was going to talk about The House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. It's this really short novella that takes place on a lake where this couple's like going on their first date, and they find a house underneath, and they get like obsessed with having to go underwater and discovering like what's real and what's not about this house. It's horror, and it's like super ominous and weird, but I don't know where it is.
I also had a very like Riley Sager summer one year after The House Across the Lake came out, where I went through and just read all of his books. That those always come to mind. That kind of like there's a central theme that's a very summer feeling trope. But Cece, did you have another book? You had the look.
I did. I was looking around. I know it's in a pile in here somewhere, but I also can't find it. It's Drowning. I think it's by TJ Newman. I think it's like a really great popcorn thriller. This one is it's a survival story. It's just about a disaster that starts in the first sentence. The book starts with the plane's engine exploding, and the plane falls into the sea and then starts sinking while there are people inside. And the book becomes a rescue of how are we going to get to these people? How much air do they have? It is from a bunch of different perspectives, and I absolutely love big, like, survival action movies. And again, that just feels so summertime to me. And this is definitely one that I could not, like, get my mind away from. I was constantly worried about it until I was done reading.
Oh my gosh, I need to add that to my TBR now. I can't afford to add anything to my TBR. Not to be weird, but I love a plane crash book. So that sounds really good.
I love like anything that feels kind of claustrophobic like that. Just the tension drama build up into the like, okay, now what?
And you get so many fun different like characters who have never met each other before. And it's a great way to get character interactions that are really unexpected.
I think it's the part of me that was a child watching Lost as Lost was airing originally. That 100%. maybe that's what's baked into my brain. Kayla, Cece, thank you so much for sharing these recs. Any fun summer plans coming up?
I think every year we go to Vancouver Island. That's pretty much our normal summertime activity. Take the ferry across. You just get to spend like hours on the ocean. So that's probably what I'll end up doing.
Love that.
My sister just moved near me, and she is teetering on the edge of getting a dog. And so all of us here are very eagerly awaiting a summertime that we can spend with a dog, honestly.
Oh, that's perfect.
I love that.
Love that. Yeah, dream goals for the summer, a puppy to play with.
Seriously.
For real.
Well, thank you both. And now here's the awkward transition to me doing an outro. What a fun look into what the heck is a beach read. Honestly, at this point, it feels like it may be easier to say what isn't a beach read. But Clémence, Megan, Sarah, and Jonathan shared so many fun insights into their processes from all sides and aspects of the author's story. And Jananie, Amy, Bree, Carmen, Cece, and Kayla gave us so many amazing recs to choose from and pack up in our beach bags. Hopefully you are ready and not too bothered being weighted down by so many incredible recommendations. Make sure you're subscribed and following the show. You won't want to miss next week's episode when I'm joined by Maddie Lubchansky, Maya Kobabe, Susie Hopkins, and Hallie Bateman to talk about graphic novels. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow Book Lounge by Libby on your favorite podcast app and check out the Libby app YouTube channel for all of our video content. You can also find us on social at libby.app, and you can send an email with any questions, comments, or inquiries to bookloungebyLibby@overdrive.com. If you're loving the show, a quick rating or review helps other book lovers find us. Thank you so much for joining us today, and as always, happy reading! You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonzo. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.